For a long time, I believed that improving mental health required massive changes, changing my entire life, traveling somewhere new, starting over from scratch, or achieving something extraordinary. But over time, I realized that this way of thinking was exhausting me more than it was helping me. I was constantly waiting for something big to happen and transform my life, when in reality, the change began with small things that I used to underestimate. The first thing that improved my mental well-being was reducing the clutter around me. I never realized how much my environment affected my inner state. When I started organizing my room, getting rid of unnecessary items, and creating a clean and peaceful space, my mind felt lighter. The chaos around me had been reflecting inside me without me noticing. The second thing was spending time with myself without distractions. At first, it was difficult because I was used to escaping into my phone or staying constantly busy. But when I started sitting alone for short periods or taking quiet walks by myself, I began to hear my own thoughts more clearly. I realized that silence is not emptiness. It is a space where balance can return. The third thing was letting go of the pressure I constantly placed on myself. I believed that I had to be strong all the time and never allow myself to feel tired or weak. Eventually, I learned that no one can be strong every single day. Some days are naturally harder than others. Once I stopped blaming myself for those days, I found a level of inner peace I had never experienced before. The fourth thing was stopping the habit of comparing myself to others. Comparison was stealing a huge amount of my mental energy. I was comparing my inner struggles to other people's highlight reels. It was unfair to myself. When I started focusing on my own journey and my own progress, even when it was slow, I felt more satisfied and less inadequate. The fifth thing was paying attention to the small details of everyday life. Drinking coffee slowly, listening to something I enjoy, making my bed in the morning, or sitting in the sunlight for a few minutes. These simple moments brought me a surprising sense of stability and comfort. The sixth thing was changing the way I spoke to myself. I used to be extremely harsh with myself. I expected perfection and criticized every mistake. Over time, I learned to be kinder. Instead of attacking myself when I failed, I tried to understand what went wrong and learn from it. The seventh thing was learning to set healthy boundaries. Much of my emotional exhaustion came from not knowing how to say no. I agreed to things I didn't want, accepted commitments that drained me, and feared disappointing others. Eventually, I realized that every yes to something unhealthy was a no to my own peace of mind. The eighth thing was taking sleep seriously. I used to believe that sleeping less meant being more productive. The truth was the opposite. Once I started getting enough rest, my mood improved, my mind became clearer, and my energy increased. The body and mind are deeply connected. The ninth thing was reducing sources of mental exhaustion. Constant exposure to negative news, endless scrolling on social media, and pointless arguments were consuming my energy without me realizing it. When I became more selective about what I watched, listened to, and engaged with, my mind felt lighter. The 10th thing was learning patience. I wanted quick results and expected to feel better within days. But mental health doesn't work that way. Real improvement is gradual. It requires consistency, repetition, and time. Once I stopped rushing the process, I began to see genuine progress. The 11th thing was focusing on what I already had instead of obsessing over what was missing. I started appreciating the blessings in my life, my health, my safety, my home, and even the quiet moments I used to overlook. My circumstances didn't change, but my perspective did, and that changed everything. The 12th and most important thing was strengthening my relationship with God and maintaining my prayers. This had a deeper impact on my life than I ever expected. Prayer became more than an obligation. It became a source of peace. The closer I grew to God, the calmer my heart became. I realize that no matter how much comfort we seek in the outside world, we will always need that deeper spiritual connection that gives life meaning and true tranquility. In the end, I learned that mental health does not require complicated solutions or dramatic transformations. It requires small habits practiced consistently over time. I stopped chasing a perfect life and started seeking inner peace within the life I already had. The small changes I made, organizing my environment, reducing pressure, appreciating simple moments, changing the way I think, and strengthening my faith, created a real transformation, even if it happens slowly. And perhaps the most important lesson I learned is this: peace of mind is not found at the destination. It is found in the way you choose to live each day. When you become gentler with yourself, more aware of your thoughts, and more intentional about your habits, you begin to understand that true change starts from within, not from the circumstances around you. And that's where today's episode comes to an end. May God protect and bless you all, and I will see you again soon.